What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Rue's Reviews, and today we are chatting about PredicTABLE by Rawlins. So let's run that title sequence. So welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Rue. I do weird things for a living, including this review channel. And today we are chatting about PredicTABLE by our buddy Rawlins. So if you don't know who Chris is, I have reviewed many products of his on the channel. In fact, somebody said a little while back, why are there so many Rawlins products on this channel? Well, because the guy brings out great material, and this is one of them. PredicTABLE is a fresh new take on the out of this world plot. What this effect does is it takes the principle of separating normally reds and blacks from a deck of playing cards to a game. And this game is called Table Talk. And this is Table Talk. This is what you get. This is the packaging that comes with it. Table Talk is actually a real game. So if people were to search online after you've performed this, they would find a real game called Table Talk. And in fact, Chris has made this effect to match that game beautifully. The packaging itself is really cool. You can see there's like all these little smiley faces and headphones and hearts, and it really mimics the real game. And inside of here are the gimmicks that allow you to perform this amazing out of this world miracle. And this is what the gimmicks are. They are a deck of cards made up of questions. These are all various different questions on here. And these various questions are what will help start a conversation with your spectator. These are questions like, are you a morning person? Or do you enjoy eating spicy foods? And all this kind of thing. And the people, you can separate these as people are saying them into yes piles and no piles. So you get with this a yes and no card. This is them there specifically printed, yes and no. Or in my they are yes and no. These are what you place down on the table, and they can separate them into what is essentially things that they do agree with that are pertaining to them. Are they a morning person? Maybe yes, maybe no. And they go down and they do this process. There are 40 cards within this deck, so you can go through a nice process with your spectators and get them to split this pile into yes and no's for a final reveal. And that final reveal is printed on the back here. There's the yes, there's the no. These are specifically printed cards, and this is what I love about this. These look like they've really been written on there, right? That looks like a real yes, but in reality, it's Chris's handwriting that he's had printed onto these specific playing cards, and he makes these all himself. Obviously he doesn't make the cards himself, but he goes through the quality control himself, and he's actually mimicked how he'd write a yes and a no, and this is his genuine handwriting that has been printed onto these cards, so there's no risk of these being scratched off or coming off. This is actually part of the printing process. All the questions that are on these cards are designed to invoke conversation. Things like, do you believe in ghosts? All this kind of stuff. It really helps spark a conversation. So for all of you that might be thinking, oh, this isn't a quick trick, you'd be right. This would be great in a parlor show setting, or maybe after an event when you can sit down with a client, or just sitting around with friends, because this is a game. And it comes in this really cool little package like this. You get those yes and no cards, which are here, so you put them both on the table. And you also get some instructions. These are the instructions how to play. So it really looks like the card game Table Talk. So when you're doing all this stuff, you can take this out, you can hand to the spectators and say, we're going to play a game. It's almost like 20 questions, but we'll sort of split them into yes piles and no piles, and you can really have some fun with it. These cards, combined with the packaging itself, take this away from looking like a magic trick. This really looks like a game you could play around the table with friends. It could just be something you have in your bag. This is why this is a little bit banged up there on the corner, because it's literally been in my bag. I carry this around pretty much most places because it helps to do a lot of things. You can even do readings with people, right? So if you guys are into tarot or into giving readings for events, I sometimes do it for events. This is the perfect conduit to be able to do that kind of stuff with. It doesn't need to be tarot cards, they're question cards. And this opens up a host of other things that you can do just with this deck of cards. And here's something else I've been messing around with. Because I mainly perform close-up, I don't want to be carrying a deck of 40 playing cards around with me to do close-up with. It's too long, the procedure is way too long. So I've stripped some of these cards back to just 10 cards, 5 yes and 5 no. So it's really super simple if you want to keep this pack really tiny and have it as maybe a little packet trick or a little conversation starter that you can have. Maybe you can keep some in your wallet. I don't know. You can split these up because there's 40 cards there. You don't have to do the whole 40. But what using all 40 cards does though is it builds up this amazing presentation. And the presentation is all down to you as the performer. It allows you to really build a rapport with your spectator or the audience at large. And this is something that you can just enjoy and sink into as a performer. And it really allows you to almost sit back and let all the heavy lifting be done by the spectators. For those of you that know your own oil and water procedure, then go ahead and use it with this deck of playing cards. What I love about these playing cards is the marking system. So this is all obviously face up on the table. They don't see the yes and no on the back, but these cards are marked, and they're marked by the questions. Because there's so many cards, you can go through and have a look, and by seeing the question on the card, you're able to tell if this is a yes or a no. For example, if I stop here, have you had a broken bone? I know that that is a no, and I can show you right there that that is indeed a no. So that is something that you're able to tell, because when you're dealing these cards down into yes and no piles, you don't want to lose track of what cards are where. You want to know what cards are in what pile and what questions you've asked so that you know where to put those cards. If you're not aware of the oil and water principle, I suggest you go and check it out by Paul Curry. I guess most magicians are aware of it, but it's been one of those things that myself personally, I've never really been that much of a fan of. I know that's almost sacrilege to say, but it's almost like a holy grail for a lot of card magicians. But it never was for me. Same with the Triumph. Everything feels a little bit too procedural or clinical on those two effects for me. I've never found a Triumph that I really liked and enjoyed. Same with Out of This World. However, I have liked some red and black separations that have been with smaller decks of cards, with a small packet. So maybe, as I say, in this case, 10 cards. I like that. But as I say, this is all about starting a conversation and asking questions with your spectator. And the amount of entertainment and scope that that can bring for your own routining is only limited by what's up here. The tutorial for this effect lasts just over an hour and a half long, and those of you that know what Chris's tutorials are like, he really goes into depth with a lot of his products. So I love Hide-A-Key still. Hide-A-Key is still one of my everyday carries. It's on my keyring at the moment, and I use it and carry it around with me most places. But the tutorial for that showed you all of the prototypes for Hide-A-Key. And it's the same with this. He shows you all the prototypes of the cards that he made. He showed you like his initial starting point, where he went with it, the people that he showed it to and their reactions and their thoughts on it as well. And it was just a nice way to be able to see the progression of an effect. I wish more creators did this, because it really shows, okay, they've made these steps to get to this point. And Chris does this very, very well. The main routine for this that's taught is basically John Kennedy's red-black separation of Paul Curry's Out of This World. So really nice, really streamlined effect. And again, with 40 cards, works amazingly because you have that length, you have that time to be able to indulge in the performance. There's also an extra bonus, which is a John Bannon handling, along with Paul Harris's and Wyman Jones' Out of This Galaxy plot. I believe Chris doesn't use the Out of This Galaxy handling too much, because this is the one where you have to switch packets halfway through, and maybe it doesn't feel as clean as the John Kennedy plot initially taught, but still a very nice option to have on the tutorial. And there's also some additional ideas, such as forcing them a card and reading their mind. If they're thinking of a question, you might be able to tell them the answer to this question, you know? So all these little ideas that can be used with this deck of cards can be chucked in, and you've got them there to use whenever you like. There's also cool ideas using the box as a peek to get the information that you need to get one ahead for your routine. But by taking the lid off and placing this on the table, you are now good to go, and you can get all the information you need to start your routine. All these little ideas I really enjoy, because this is what makes it workable for me. This is always in play. You take the cards out, you're good to go. Why wouldn't this box be on the table? You know, so really cool thinking, really nice application. And as I say, the beauty of this is actually a real game. Table Talk is a real game. So if people go and search Google afterwards, they'll be able to find it and they can pick it up themselves. I think that's really cool. The amount of detail that's gone into this, from the handwriting that's on the back of these cards, which won't come off, and it's actually Chris's writing. It looks like a Sharpie's just been scrawled there. All of this stuff, down to the designs on the backs of the cards, down to the methods used. I think it's just a cool, neat little package that you can carry around with you all the time. Chris kindly sent me 2 of these, one that I'm going to keep just in my gigging bag, and one that I keep as an everyday carry, which is this. So thank you, Chris, for sending these over. These are brilliant. These are very, very well made. This isn't a close-up trick to be done quickly. This is about starting a conversation with your audience and engaging your audience on another level than just here's some mentalism. And even if you don't use this at every gig, just have it in your bag. That's what this is. This just sits in my bag because I know at a moment's notice, I can go into something really cool and create something amazing with my participants. And why wouldn't you want to do that? So there you go, guys. That was PredicTABLE. Thank you very, very much indeed, Chris Rawlins, for sending these over. Amazing work, as always. This is the kind of stuff that people just need to have in their bags all the time. Thank you very, very much indeed for watching. Links are below. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell. And I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao.